It's a bird. But it's on the ground.
It's a little budgie.
Is it okay?
No, it looks hurt.
Why did Bluey make an entire episode about death? We are going to be doing a deep dive into the episode Copycat, talking about that, as well as, of course, talking about the Easter eggs, the hidden details, the real-life locations from Brisbane that they used in this episode as well, and of course, any other Australian reference that there is. G'day, cheeky dogs. My name's Margie, and I'm an Australian currently living in America.
Dingo, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be better.
Of course, before we get started, if you love Bluey as much as we do here, don't forget to hit that like button down below, that subscribe button, and that bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any other Bluey videos. And let's get into, I guess, kind of a sad-ish topic in some ways, and that's the idea of death, which Bluey did not shy away from at all. And I think one of the really coolest things about it is the fact that they actually use the words dead and died, whereas a lot of other children's shows will usually use a lot of lighter language, like has passed away, has moved on, or gone to heaven, of course. So I think the fact that Bluey didn't want to shy away from those words in particular is fantastic, and again, it gives credit to children being able to understand difficult topics as well when they're explained appropriately.
It's bad news, I'm afraid. The little budgie died.
Oh, okay. Dad,
Yes, mate?
I don't want the budgie to have died.
I know. Me neither. But there's nothing we can do.
And I think that's what the main aim of this episode actually was to help children understand the concept of death. And the fact that it's not anything bad, but it is something that is really hard to deal with. And you have to eventually learn how to accept death as a part of life as well. And that's where I think the brilliance of the name of this episode comes in as actual Copycat, because they use this so well to explain how children process trauma or these kinds of concepts. This was one of the very first episodes that actually even highlighted the whole idea that kids like to play out trauma that they've gone through or experienced to help process this. And of course, we've seen it more in season 3, especially in the episode Space, where we saw Mackenzie playing out where he was actually abandoned so that he was able to process the trauma of feeling abandoned.
Mackenzie, you know what's here now. You don't need to keep coming back to this place.
Okay.
But Copycat was the very first episode that ever did it. So of course in this episode, Bluey is the one who is reenacting what happened with the budgie. And she does this because she needs some sort of control over the situation. Because when it was actually happening, she had no control. She was helpless to do anything and also didn't know how to do anything in this kind of situation. And in particular, she tells Chili not to give her that happy ending.
You have to pretend it's bad news that the budgie's dead.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because at the end of the day, that's not actually helping her process this whole scenario in any way. She needs to have that sad ending to understand the whole situation and realize that nothing could have changed. There was nothing that she could have done to have changed the situation in any way. This is just what was always going to happen.
But there's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
There's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands.
And by doing that, then she's able to have acceptance of this kind of situation and death, and she's able to grieve it and then able to move on by playing it out.
Oh, g'day, little fella. You look hurt. We best get you some help.
Okay, I have bad news.
Oh, did the budgie die?
I'm afraid she did.
Oh, okay.
And I also think that this is like a double lesson then for parents and adults in general as well, that we need to have more trust in the kids' ability to actually process these kinds of emotions. You don't have to give them an easy way out or give them a happy ending or shelter them from this kind of idea. We can trust that if there's an appropriate way to explain it, that they're able to then also understand those emotions. There's also then, of course, the lesson to parents that really highlights the idea that kids are always watching us, always learning from us, and AKA always copying us, which again plays into that title of Copycat so perfectly. Kids learn and watch and copy us, and that's how they learn how they're meant to react to different situations, of course.
It's green, mate. Get off your phone.
It's green, mate. Put your phone call away.
And something that's so interesting is that, of course, at the start of this episode, they're playing a game and Bluey is kind of teasing Bandit by copying him. But at the very end, Bandit's like, oh wow, Bluey, you stopped copying me. And she's like, yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah.
But she didn't. Like, us as audiences know, she never stopped playing the game at all, except for that small part in the middle when they first found the budgie. But as soon as they got back home, she kept playing the game Copycat, but just in a different sense. She was no longer teasing Bandit, but rather than replaying and copying his actions as a way of respect and a way of her being able to cope and understand.
He's as light as a feather.
Like as a Fella!
So again, that line from Bandit at the end is kind of a nod to us as parents that we might not think that kids are copying us anymore, but they always are. They are always watching and they are always copying our reactions and what we do. And again, I just think it's one of those brilliant things about this episode is it's a really good way to show us that we don't need to shelter our children and that there are ways for us to talk about these kind of concepts with them as well. It's not like too in your face either with this episode. Like yes, while it covers a very sad type of topic, it does also add in comedic elements to help with that as well.
Bingo, what are you doing?
Joe Brown has talked about this before, the fact that like if he wants to do these like sort of dark, deep topics, he knows he has to add in comedic elements as well to make it not feel like too heavy or too deep, because at the end of the day, it is still meant to be for children as well. And yes, obviously while people of all ages love and adore Bluey, it is meant to also have like a happy aspect to it too.
Morning, Wendy. Do you know I like to smack my bum as hard as I can? Ow.
And that, of course, is why we have Wendy in this, why we have the butt jokes in it, why we see Bingo laughing and pretending to be alive at the very end of it, even though that's not what Bluey wanted. For the story to work, Bingo did actually still have to pretend to be alive at the end, because that allows us as the viewer and audience to not have to linger in that really sad and difficult emotion for too long, but instead we can help laugh and still understand what was meant to be happening. And again, for kids, it also stops them from lingering in it for too long, allows them to laugh and move on with the idea of the story and what's meant to happen.
You're not supposed to be better.
We probably should have told the budgie.
So for me, this episode is honestly like 100 out of 100 long dogs, to be honest. I think it's just such a perfect way of showing a difficult topic and how to sort of broach it as both a parent or an adult and a child as well. But let's move on to some of the happier Easter egg fun parts of it.
I am Bluey and I stink like a monkey's butt.
Well, good that we can agree on that then.
All right, let's talk about some of our Easter eggs in this episode, starting off with the fact that we had 2 long dogs in this. The very first one was actually at the vet. When you look in just above like the reception desk area, you can see a little white long dog right at the very top. There's also then a second long dog that we see at the very end when Bandit's coming out. It's in the playroom up on the top of the shelf. It's a little brown long dog that we've seen a couple of times before. Now, as I mentioned, there are some real life locations in this episode as well. So the vet clinic that they go to is based on 1/2 vet clinics in that same sort of Red Hill, Paddington, Ashgrove area in Brisbane. So Bluey Locations over on Instagram went and did a great side-by-side picture of this as well. It looks a lot like it's meant to be the Ashgrove Avenue Vet Clinic. The outside looks the exact same. However, the inside looks a lot more like the Wilson Vet Clinic with the stained glass windows. And Bluey's done this a lot of times before where they've like taken inspiration from like 2 different locations and just kind of like smashed it into one.
Excuse me, we found this little fella. I think a cat might have got to him.
Now, as for cameos, we did have sort of like 3 very special cameos in this episode. The first, of course, was Wendy, and this is the first time we actually hear her name, as well as the Good Morning Wendy gag.
Morning, Wendy.
We then also have a cameo from the surfer dog from the episode Beach, and I love that the like animal that she has is a goldfish. It sort of fits perfectly with her character, of course, being surf, water, goldfish. I thought that was a really cute little detail. And then, of course, we have the vet corgi, which is our cameo voice actor for this episode, which was Stephanie Bendixson. She is actually an Australian video gamer, reviewer, and author, and I just love that. I think she did a really great job with the vet corgi here, and even the animation of the vet corgi was so cute with like it having little legs, so it took like ages for it to actually walk over.
Come here, little one. I'll get him to our vet.
Good luck, little mate.
Other little Easter eggs as well, of course, was the tea towels, and I did love that they were sort of showing yet again another reference to London with Big Ben, which is of course where Bandit and Chili met. But then the other little tea towel they had next to them with the Outback is actually Uluru, which is literally in the middle of Australia.
Which one? Big Ben or Outback?
Hurry up, Bluey.
Outback.
Some other little details that you might have missed was the birds. So many bird references in this, and not just like that little budgie that unfortunately passed away or died, but just birds in general. They do a really good, like a lot of like cross scenes. So the very first scene that we see in this is lots of birds flying around. We hear lots of bird noises. Then also as they're driving to the vet, we see one bird on the power lines, but when they're driving back from the vet, there is no birds on the power lines. So again, kind of to signify that like the life of the bird and then it has passed away and died. So that cutscene I thought was really amazing. We do also have, when they're coming through the door, the little budgie that's like right next to the door. It's a little toy that has been there ever since the beginning. Like the episode The Weekend was the first episode that they actually really did, and the budgie was there then. So I always kind of wonder if Joe Brum had a pet budgie growing up, because the budgie comes up a lot, like especially recently in the minisode episode Letter, we learned that Bandit when he was younger had a pet budgie. So I wonder if it's like one of those things where, yeah, Joe Brum when he was a kid had a pet budgie, so they have that budgie toy there, they made the episode Letter about it, and so then it like kind of came full circle with this episode Copycat as well.
It's a little budgie.
Is it okay?
No, it looks hurt.
What do we do?
But cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below, what did you think of this episode? Were there any of your favorite Easter eggs or just even little details that you really loved about this? I want to know all of your thoughts and feelings down below. While you're there as well, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any other Bluey themed videos. But until my next videos, cheeky dogs, I have picked you out a few other ones that maybe you would like to watch, and I'll see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!